But anyway, Pokemon we have today is Toxapex, which is one of the bulkiest Pokemon I've ever seen. It's poison water type, which means it's just another Tentacruel, but it has a few differences. Its HP is fairly low, but its defense and its special defense are absolutely through the roof. They are so high. Every Pokemon that I've looked at in Gen 7 so far is either super fast and frail, or they're insanely slow and either bulky or just strong. There's not really a middle speed tier that I've seen so far. Everything is either like over 110 or they're under 60, except for Decidueye, Rowlet's Final Evo, which is like 70, but there is just such a huge gap between them. But anyway, back on topic. You already know about this typing. Tentacruel is famous for the amount of bulk and the amount of resistances it has. Even though it's weak to both ground and electric, which are fairly common, it has resistances to fire, water, ice, fighting, poison, you know, everything under the sun that's not the two big weaknesses that are on almost every team. It resists almost everything else. So this Pokemon's going to benefit from that same typing. And as far as abilities go, we have one new ability, one useless ability on it, in my opinion at least, and then probably my favorite ability of all time. So before we get into that though, I'll tell you a little about Merciless. Merciless as an ability means that if you attack an opposing Pokemon that is poisoned, you will always land a critical hit on that Pokemon. Now, I think this was a great idea for an ability, but I think that it may have been put on the wrong Pokemon. Like perhaps they would have put it on something faster that could take advantage of being on a team with something like Salandit, where it could poison something. You could switch this Pokemon in, not this Pokemon, but the Pokemon with Merciless, and just go to town and just get critical hits on everything. You set up Toxic Spikes, you could do whatever. But Merciless on a Pokemon with base 63 and 53 offensive stats is a little strange, and I don't know how useful it'll be. I could be way off. It could be amazing as a support Pokemon that still does a lot of damage, but we'll just have to see with how the meta turns out. But anyway, Regenerator is what I will probably always be running on this Pokemon. I absolutely love the ability Regenerator. Tangrowth and Alomomola are two of my favorite Pokemon of all time, thanks to that ability, because even if you're at 1% and you switch out, suddenly your Pokemon has viability again. And I feel like this Pokemon will be one that benefits from that a lot because of its low base HP but super high base defenses. I think it'll benefit a lot from being so bulky and being able to switch in and out and being bulky on both sides, which is something that Tangrowth and Alomomola can have trouble with because they normally need an Assault Vest to take more special hits. So anyway, we're going to get on with the proposed set I made. I'm not saying it's final whatsoever because honestly I don't think it's the best, but this Pokemon, it's just strange. I'll just show you. So I was thinking Black Sludge is a dead giveaway to put on this Pokemon because that constant healing is very important, and it deters things like Trick and Switcheroo, which could or could not be important in the meta. We'll just have to wait and see. But what I normally like to run on Pokemon like these are a kind of split defense until I can see how the meta turns out. So for now I have it with a bold nature, but max special defense, max HP, and a little bit extra in defense. It gets Recover, it gets Venoshock, which with base 53 special attack I'm worried won't do that much damage, but if you can get a poison off on something then it's something because it's base 130 stab. It can get Scald, which is good for those Pokemon that it can't poison otherwise, and it also learns Sludge Wave and Toxic Spikes. So this Pokemon is the king of poisoning things. Its ability takes advantage of poisoning things. It gets so many different moves that have to do with poison, whether it be Poison Jab, Sludge Wave, Sludge Bomb, Venoshock, Toxic Spikes, Toxic, Venom Drench. Everything this thing learns has to do with Toxic. The only moves that really don't are things like Smackdown, Frost Breath, and Pin Missile, which are very random moves on this Pokemon in my opinion. But other than that, everything is based around Toxic. So the last move I have on here is one that I find very interesting. It's called Baneful Bunker. I believe it's unique to this Pokemon's evolution line. And what it is it's Protect, but if you're hit with a contact move when you use it, it poisons your opponent. I doubt it works on Steel types. I think that's going to be exclusive to Slandit. But I think that this ability could be important to wearing your opponent down and using things like Venoshock, things like Recover, and just spamming that Baneful Bunker and getting as much toxic damage on your opponent, which I'm not even sure if it's regular poison or toxic poison when they hit you, because that part hasn't been released yet. But I would love to run Regenerator on this, but another set that I was thinking of was one that could sit in there. It can use Stockpile, and it can build up its defenses, and then it can poison things. It can run different coverage, so the moves I've already talked about, and it can sit in and just Recover spam and Toxic spam. And especially with teams without a Steel type, I think this is going to be very, very hard to deal with, because a Pokemon with defenses both past 140 that can use Stockpile and Recover is going to be a very hard wall to break. But also threw Haze on there in case you aren't running the Stockpile set, because Haze can stop Pokemon from setting up in your face, because obviously if this Pokemon can't poison you and it's not carrying Scald, it's setup fodder. You switch it in, your opponent can switch in whatever Steel type or whatever can't get poisoned, you know, any kind of poison type, and just sweep your whole team. So I'm not sure where this Pokemon is going to go yet, Toxapex, but it has a lot of promise in its bulk, and we'll just have to wait and see where it falls in the meta. But I'm thinking it's going to be a slightly lower tier, just because it really doesn't have a definitive set that it runs in my mind right now, which could very well change. Like I said in my other videos, we still don't know about tutor moves. It could get something amazing that changes the way it's played, but we'll just have to wait and see.